Anyway, good morning, and just for informational purposes, President Mellow is stuck in the metro or someplace in traffic, something that we're all familiar with around here. So as soon as she gets in, she'll be joining the panel, and we're trying to get her here as quickly and as easily as possible. And I'm going to have my prepared statement here for a second, but I just want to open as I visit with you privately beforehand, and I want to tell you how pleased I am that we have each and every one of you here. I was so thrilled reading your testimony last night. I appreciate collectively your efforts to make sure that folks that often don't have opportunities or that slip through cracks find ways to move forward, and to this focus on helping particularly first-generation college kids succeed, and not always kids, as Dr. Fischer will tell us a little bit later. But I am just extraordinarily pleased with your work, and again, this is a committee where we sometimes have some spirited differences. This is actually one of the topics that tends to bring us together across partisan lines. So again, I'm really thrilled you're here. So again, my pleasure to welcome our witnesses today to the Subcommittee on Labor, Health and Human Services and Education to discuss the closing the achievement gap in higher education. Looking forward to hearing your testimonies. Our country's system of higher education is unparalleled in the world. Our institutions of higher education have produced advancements in science, technology, and the humanities, and have been critical in making the United States economically competitive. Our higher education system has also made a difference in the lives of millions of Americans by helping individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds to improve their economic prospects and enter the middle class. And they've educated tens of thousands from around the globe while setting a global standard in access and excellence that's the envy and inspiration of much of the world. Despite its many successes, our higher education system faces challenges. Minorities and children from low-income families are less likely to attend college compared to their wealthier counterparts. Additionally, entering college does not guarantee success. Students from these same groups are also less likely to persist in higher education and eventually obtain a degree. While the cost of higher education is certainly a factor, it's not the only factor. Often these students lack a network of family and friends who've attended college and are familiar with the ins and outs of applying for aid, choosing classes, and preparing for a career after graduation. There's a role for the federal government to play in helping disadvantaged students to be successful in higher education. A more educated populace strengthens our workforce and our international competitiveness. Individuals who complete their course of study and obtain a degree are more likely to be employed and earn more than their counterparts who were not able to do so. The Department of Education's loan and grant programs make higher education a possibility for millions of Americans, and programs such as TRIO and Gear Up help students to make use of these financial resources. Through these programs, the federal government partners with states, school districts, institutions of higher education, nonprofits, private industry, and tribes to help develop students prepare for, enroll in, and complete a higher education. This preparation is essential for helping these students make use of the financial aid and educational opportunities that are available to them. Today, we look forward to hearing from our witnesses about ways in which the efforts I've mentioned can improve college access and completion among first-generation college students. Today, I'm pleased to welcome, and she's not yet here, but will be, so I'm going to go ahead and mention her, Dr. Gail Mellow, the president of Guardia Community College in Long Island City, New York, who will testify about successful interventions that have been piloted at LaGuardia and elsewhere to help students succeed in completing their chosen degree programs. Dr. Brian Fitzgerald, CEO of the Business Higher Education Forum, who will testify about private sector partnerships to increase educational attainment for underrepresented populations, particularly in areas aligned with workforce needs. Dr. Ben Cattleman, Assistant Professor of Education and Public Policy at the Curry School of Education at the University of Virginia, who will testify about his research on the impact of relatively low-cost interventions, providing information on financial aid, on keeping disadvantaged students in school. Dr. Aaron Thompson, Executive Vice President and Chief Academic Officer of the Kentucky Council on Postsecondary Education and Professor in the Department of Educational Leadership and Policy Studies at Eastern Kentucky University, who will testify about efforts in the state of Kentucky to develop partnerships to improve higher education, and Dr. Carol Fischer, postdoctoral fellow at Dow's Institute for Dental Research at the University of Iowa, an adjunct professor in biology at Kirkwood Community College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, who will testify about her experience with the McNair program, a part of TRIO, which helped her overcome obstacles as a first-generation college student and obtain a PhD. I must add, she also is a former resident of the district that I'm privileged to represent, so it's very wonderful to have you here. And that's a program at East Central I'm very, very familiar with, and it's just done a great job for literally thousands of students over many decades now. So I look forward to hearing all of your testimony. I'd like to yield now to my ranking member for the day, at least for the outset of this hearing, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Fattah, for any opening remarks he cares to make.